Hey there, welcome back. So, following up the previous video about what I want to do is I'm talking this series of videos. I'm talking to people who are really excited about ekklesia, really excited about experiencing simple church, organic church, but you can't find something in your community. You've looked, you can't find anything. You can't find other people or other groups. What do I do now? So in the first video, we talked about some ideas. Be sure to listen to that first video or watch that first video. But I wanted to follow up with some other ideas on that. So what I would encourage you to do, and I say this to people all the time, if you're married, sometimes what happens is that one person in the marriage is totally convinced this is the direction to go, but the other spouse isn't quite convinced and maybe even really loves their traditional church, and your kids are plugged in and all that stuff. And so I would just really encourage you, bring your spouse with you. And if that means waiting, please wait. And why do I say that? Well, because I would really hate for ekklesia, for organic church, to become a wedge between you and your spouse. And I have seen this, by the way, where if your pattern as a couple or as a family is that every Sunday one of you goes to a traditional church and the other one goes to a house church, well then, you know, you're now the one going to the ekklesia, for example, is you're developing a whole different set of relationships with a whole different, group of believers, and getting really connected and really tight, but without your spouse. And your spouse is doing the same somewhere else, and it just becomes something that's really, I think, potentially destructive. So I would encourage you, if you're excited about it but your spouse isn't, to pray about it. Please don't discount the power of prayer. And wait for them. And again, don't push them, don't badger them, don't belittle them. This is actually a great opportunity for you to practice speaking to other Christians in a loving way who don't see yet what you see and are not convinced yet of what you're convinced of. So if possible, ask your spouse to read, a book you're reading or a book you've read on house church, or maybe just read a chapter. Or maybe you just read a chapter to them and discuss it. To start small, but get the ball rolling and get them thinking about it. But again, don't push them, don't pressure them, and certainly don't belittle them. And be patient. It's worth it. I'm telling you, it's going to be so much better if you will bring your spouse and your family along with you into this journey, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for failure, and potentially failure in more ways than one. So we don't want to see that happen. The other thing I would say is when you're starting your group, whether it's just you or you and your spouse, or maybe you and a couple other people, I'm saying, look, just start small and don't have these big expectations that it's got to be some big organizational big deal. I would encourage you that whoever you're starting this group with, whether that's, again, you and one person, you and a couple of people, you and your spouse, take time to really think about and pray about who you are. What is this? Who are we? What are we doing here? What is our goal here? And I could certainly give you guys some ideas about what that should be, but I want to hold back because I really think it's important that you, as a group, figure that out, for yourself. I do think every group is as organic as living, and you have an own personality and your own purpose. And I'll share a story with you. So a few years ago, a good friend of mine called me. She had started a group with 5 or 6 people in her house. She did an exercise where she asked them all to write out what their vision was for the church. And everyone had a different idea. So she called me on the phone, didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do either, but we prayed, and I was praying while she was talking. And I felt like the Lord gave me an answer, and I would give this answer to you as well, okay? This is for you. What I told her was, it's great that every one of you has your own vision for her to say to her people, in the group. It's great that each one of us has our own particular vision for what God, for what I want this church to be. But now take time and pray together and ask Jesus, what is your vision for this church? And don't assume that it's the same as your vision. Or, you know what I mean? So lay your vision for the church aside, put it away, and simply come to Jesus and say, Jesus, would you show us what your vision is? We want, and in fact, that's my advice for you. The one piece of advice I would give you as you are trying to determine what is our group and what we're about, please make sure Jesus is the center. Please make sure that no matter what you do, you are actually experiencing Jesus as the head and the leader and the pastor of your church. Because it's not your church, of his church, right? I would also encourage you, don't write out some big long manifesto. Don't make it complicated. Please don't make it complicated. But yet at the same time, pray about it and just ask the Lord, what are the 2 or 3 things, Lord, that make us who we are, that make us want to come together and meet with you? What is it, Lord Jesus, that is your heart's desire? What is your dream for us? And help us, Lord, to hear that and to see that and to walk that out and live that out, okay? And I wanted to talk to you guys also about, once you have started to have a few meetings together, maybe we'll do this in the next video. I'll talk a little bit about what those, maybe some ideas for what those meetings could look like, as well as the process of vetting. What I mean is, like, new people find you and discover your group and decide, hey, I want to come visit your group, or I want to join your house church group. What do you do about that? And I think there is, over the years, I've developed some vetting process, and I'd like to share that with you as well. I think that may be helpful. Anyway, thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me at keithshaws.com, and we'll see you on Twitter and Facebook. And we'll talk again soon, all right? God bless. Bye-bye.